I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Season 1, Episode 30. Where do you think we're going to go from here? Dr. Marco and Scar. We have Mei Chang and Lan Fan's budding friendship.
Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna start getting along beautifully under this roof, you know. We're gonna clean the house, it's gonna be spotless, there's gonna be warm, fuzzy family vibes going on, and we're gonna get along swimmingly. But yeah, Dr. Marco and Scar, I feel like that was great that you brought that up first, because I feel like that has to be where we would go at least for a bit.
I think
episode
so.
30.
I don't know if I'm ready for it. Last time we heard more about Scar's past, it killed me, so.
And also, it seems like get more information and then I will kill you.
Yeah.
And that would mean that we might possibly have to see Scar kill Dr. Marco, which would be kind of hard to watch. Yeah, definitely hard to watch. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Just gotta remind ourselves, it's not all bad news. We saw Al's body.
Yeah, I guess. I love seeing the hope in Al for his body.
I feel like it's interesting to have Hohenheim and Roy in the same sort of visual situation within this opening, both like in front of a fire, possibly outside.
Those are two characters that I need to meet that I've never thought about. Oh, or like a Winry Hohenheim interaction. Whoa, Roy's teacher.
To become a dog of the... Interesting. Whoever was teaching him alchemy disapproved. You're just gonna be taken advantage of.
Look at how Roy's so motivated and just wants to help, but...
Shouldn't it be for the people? The poverty element. State certification, they make a lot of money. Stops thinking he dies.
Oh my god. What? 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 I feel like I want to pause the episode. Oh my god. Wow. Brotherhood.
She becomes a soldier too.
Roy.
With these hands.
I hate that they used him. Yeah.
Oh no! Somewhat of a similar situation.
重荷になっちゃったわね。注意はさ、重荷に思ったことないの？重いとか軽いとか、今さら言う資格、私にはないもの。過去に人の命をたくさん奪ってるから。そして、この道を行くって決めたのも自分だから。イシュバール。イシュバールの話、聞いていいかな
？Oh
It's okay
my
to ask about Ishvalan.
god. I'm not ready for this. Envy.
一発の銃弾により不満は怒りとなってイシュバール全域に広がったの。そして一枚の書類が全てを決定したの。
Jesus.
大総統令3066号イシュバール殲滅戦の開始を告げた。その紙切れが
At his table of guys that know who he is, basically.
まさに地獄だった。空気は腐臭と硝煙の匂いで満ち、砂は流れた血で重く湿ったわ。
Oh, yeah.
弾を乱射してその一発が偶然人の命を奪うこともある。でも狙撃は違う。
Look at her.
引き金を引けば必ず人が死ぬ。原因と結果がこれほど明確に結びついているのは狙撃兵と国家錬金術師だけだわ。
Snipers and state alchemists.
Oh wow.
We've seen this. Which is more tired, their bodies or their souls right now?
そういうお前もな、人殺しの目だ。
ああ。士官学校でこの国の未来についてみんなで語り合ったっけな。
ああ、美しい未来をな。
はい、お手紙です。うん、ありがとうよ。
なんだ？
俺の美しい未来さ、グレイシアって言うんだ。セントラでずっと俺の帰りを待っててくれてる。一人でずっと。ちょっかい出したらどうしよう。俺みたいないい男を置いてグレイシアが浮気するわけがない。いやいや、しかし
映画や小説でよくあるパターンだ。戦場で恋人の話を持ち出したやつはすぐ死ぬ。
That's so true.
Oh no. What a line to give us after his death.
Now I can live until tomorrow.
Dreams
Oh my
about the
god.
future.
いつ終わるともしれないこの戦場で。
国がどれだけ兵力を投入しようとも、この砂漠は水のように吸い込んでいくだけだ。
ああ、内乱の鎮圧にしちゃ徹底的すぎる。
お久しぶりです。マスタング少佐。覚えておいで
The
ですか。
song.
なんてことだ。この人も人殺しの目になってしまった。
Oh my god.
They didn't reunite until on the battlefield, basically.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
Rise Up deserved to be on both of those title cards.
国民を守るべき軍人がなぜ国民を殺しているのですか。人に幸福をもたらすべき錬金術がなぜ人殺しに使われているのですか。
なぜ国民を守るべき軍人が国民を殺すのか。
それが兵士に与えられた任務だからです。
割り切れというのか、この惨状。
そうですね、お嬢さん。私はいやいややっている。そういう顔ですね。相手を倒した時、当たったよしと自分の腕にうぬぼれ、仕事の達成感を感じる瞬間が全く
Take pride in your own skills.
狙撃手さん、
それ以上言うな。
私からすればあなた方の方が理解できない。戦場はそもそも敵を殺す場所です。その覚悟もなしに軍服を着たのですか。
Oh, putting on the uniform. It's like Ling coming here and not being ready.
あなたが殺す人々のその姿を正面から見ろ。そして忘れるな。敵もあなたのことを忘れない。仕事に行かなければ。
俺も行かなきゃな。じゃあな、ロイ。
ヒューズ、お前はなぜ戦う？
簡単だ。死にたくねえ。ただそれだけだ。理由はいつだって単純だよ。
では、この戦いの理由は何だ？
理由あったんだ。恐ろしい理由が。血を持って賢者の石を作ったというのか。その石をどうした？ドルフ・ジェイ・キンボリー少佐、グレンの錬金術師の手に。
Had it. What?
長い黒髪を束ねた冷たい目の男か。アニシャン。そして
いい音だ。体の底に響く実にいい音だ。それも常に死と隣り合わせのこの地で感じることのできる喜び。なんと充実した仕事か。いい音だ。素晴らしい賢者の石。
殲滅の完了は時間の問題だったわ。
おお、貴様一人の命で残り数万のイシュバール人を助けろと。
いかにも私は。
うぬぼれるな。貴様一人の命と残り数万の命とで同等の価値があると。
Jesus,
大概
Bradley.
にせよ人間。一人の命はそのもの一人分の価値しかなく、それ以上にもそれ以下にもならん。神だと。さて不思議な。この状況で未だ私に鉄槌は下らぬではないか。
Jesus.
あと何人、いや何千人イシュバール人を殺せば下るのだ。
貴様。
神とは所詮人間によって作り上げられた人の手によるものに過ぎん。私に鉄槌を下したくば神の手など借りず自らの手で行え。
Do it yourself. His argument though about one person equal that
戦
person.
いは終わり。私たちは故郷に帰れることになったわ。
結局俺たち兵隊はゴミみたいなもんか。
ああ、一人の力などたかが知れている。ならば私は自分で守れるだけ、ほんのわずかで大切なものを
As we pan out.
下の者がさらに下の者を守る。
Ah.
小さな人間なりにそれくらいはできるはずだ。イシュバールであんな思いをしたのに、結局この道を選んだのか。
はい。錬金術が言う通り、この世の断りが10日交換ならば、新しく生まれてくる世代が幸福を享受できるように、その代価として我々は屍を背負い、血の皮を
Oh my god.
君を私の補佐官に任命する。君に私の背中を守ってもらいたい。 背中を任せるということはいつでも後ろから撃てるということだ。私が道を踏み外したら
Step
その
off
手
the
で撃ち
path.
殺せ。君にはその資格がある。
Roy Mustang is so fucking cool.
了解しました。
You're entitled to do so, like almost as if he also brought her here.
Into hell if you so desire.
国が軍事国家であることには変わりないじゃないか。そうね。今はほぼ軍の傀儡となっている議会をあるべき方に戻し、民主制に移行する。
Okay.
軍事国家時代の海をすべて絞り出さないと、この国は新しくならない。海？例えばイシュバール殲滅戦の戦争犯罪人を裁くことになるかもしれない。乱世の英雄は平和の世においてはただの大量殺戮者よ。大佐はそれを承知で上を目指してんのか。そんなの自滅の道じゃないか。あの内乱の裏で糸を引いていたのはホムンクルスだろう。原因がホムンクルスだとしても
People still carried it out.
Holy shit. Talk about accountability.
目を背けてはいけない。
Oh my
殺
god.
した人々を忘れてはいけない。なぜなら彼らは殺した私たちのことを決して忘れないから。
Whew.
やることがあるでしょ。アルフォンス君もあなたも元の体に戻ること。たくさんの人たちがその日が来るのを待ってくれてるはずよ。絶対戻ってみせる。アルと一緒に。
ノックス先生、お邪魔しました。
Okay, let's see the happy house.
Mr. Armor.
いろいろ助けていただいて
Aww.
ありがとうございます。
I knew it. Al is Mei Chang's prince.
アルフォンス・エルリック。エルリックってエドワード・エルリックって言ったでしょ。
The Little Alchemist.
僕
Don't let him hear you say
あ
that.
れの弟なんだ。訳あって体を持っていかれちゃったけど。あれの弟ってことはあれにそっくりなのかしら。ちっけえな。兄さんよりうんと身長高いに決まってるだろ。顔だってあんなにきつくないし、喧嘩だって兄さんより強い。でも短気じゃない。ジェントルマンさ。
Oh my god.
早く体が戻るといいですね。うん、そうだね。
Oh, what a good ending.
Oh,
That was they were like, we've put you guys through misery for 22 minutes. Let's give you a little fun at the
yeah,
end.
right?
And that's all I could think of, but it worked.
Her depiction of him as a prince in her mind wasn't too far off.
Yeah.
Right?
Surprisingly so.
He is a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Even if his body wasn't a hollow suit of armor, he still would have done everything he could to protect and shield Xiao Mei when he had Xiao Mei,
Yep.
and then Mei Chang.
I love his confidence in himself, being like, I'm a gentleman,
How
you know?
dare you say I'm like my brother?
Man, how different of a series I wondered like this would be if Al had his body somewhat like
what
Ed
if they're
does.
both were reversed?
Yeah, or even like both of them. Like there are so many situations that we've benefited from Al being in the suit, but
Right?
or being the suit.
マルコ先生。
Oh shit.
あれ、静かだね。またイシュバールのこと思い出して泣いてんの？
That feels illegal.
Yeah.
What the-
Okay, that was Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Season 1, Episode 30. Berthold Hawkeye. I know it's hard to go all the way back to the beginning, but oh my god, seeing Roy and his master.
The fact that it's Ryza's father,
So
that was a crazy lore drop right there.
yeah, you can't just casually do that.
And I feel like from the very beginning of getting their dynamic, it always did kind of feel like I did have questions there of why she had so much determination to stand behind him and follow him. You know, all of the people that were under him, all of his people looked up to him. And obviously they had great reason to do so. Especially if you get to know him, of course you'd want to follow him. But she, in particular, I had felt like there must be something more there.
Mm.
Like a past of interaction between the two of them where something so powerful was said that she was like, I need to follow this man, or I
Yeah.
need to protect this man. Something in the future that he desires is something that I desire. And at some points in time, I also felt like he had possibly felt even an ounce of almost responsibility for her being in this position.
Yeah.
And now we get
It
that
makes
that's
a lot of
actually
sense.
basically true.
Yeah. It's so interesting when you have like a character like Hughes and his reasoning for like why are you doing this? And he's like, to survive, like to the next day. And Roy's outlook, he's such a great fucking character. He's so cool. Like he is considering all of that and thinking beyond himself, and that is so inspirational in of itself. But like her Riza's involvement with a character like Roy does something that I appreciate more than anything, and that's the accountability and awareness of the situation that they're in and willing to take. Like, God, that conversation that Riza had with Ed about it was so fucking interesting to hear.
One of the biggest kind of takeaways that we get in terms of like how Riza and specifically Roy feel toward the future is that they're willing to be martyrs to return the country back from its military state era back into like something that's more democratic. And they're willing to like take that accountability on the grand stage, if you will, if means war criminals getting punished. You're not a hero anymore, you're a mass murderer in a peaceful
Ed
time
said it's
period.
basically like committing suicide, you know.
And they're fully willing, as long as it returns the country to the state that they believe is the happiest and most peaceful for everyone.
Man, I love Roy Mustang so much. I hate, like, we don't even necessarily, no, we do see it. I was like, him and his ideal and about the world and his positivity getting corrupted. Like him talking to Berthold, and Berthold's having like some lines like, once an alchemist stops thinking, he dies, after talking about
and
all of his
I'm
research
basically
being
dead here.
Yeah.
Is like the next line.
And like to get his innocence there, to flash forward to see the look in his eyes of how tired he looks and the eyes of a murderer, you know, is so disheartening.
So
God.
yeah, honestly, I wish I even got more backstory to him here, because I want to know why he dislikes the idea of, like, what gave him the information he has to be so upset that Roy became a dog of the military. Like, is it just out of principle alone of like an alchemist is for
Berthold?
Yeah. It's for the pursuit of knowledge, and he is just has his mind opened up enough because he's studied so much with alchemy that he realizes how it could be taken advantage of, and so he sees the negatives before they even have to happen. Like he sees the foreshadowing, if you will. He sees the future in terms of how Roy could be taken advantage of, or how alchemy could be utilized for negative, in negative way.
I wonder if it's like just maturity in of itself, right? Like if he's researched and to his own, like, you know, to make himself content. If he's researched that much and lived this much of a life and knows alchemy and just the makeup of life, he could be observing from a distance and see Bradley and see this like early steps to strengthen the military and just have a bad feeling about it and be like, all of this shit is too good to be true. They're paying you a great amount of money. You can do whatever you want if you're a state alchemist. Something is fishy. This shit, like, is not like a good look.
Yeah,
I can tell.
It definitely seems like it didn't hit the fan in terms of the reveal to everyone of how the state alchemists were going to be used until Ishval. And so obviously this man was on something, like on a good point here when he was like upset about Roy becoming a soldier. And then not only does Roy become a soldier, his student that he's teaching alchemy to, specifically like the flame alchemy, but then his daughter, I'm assuming his daughter.
Yeah. God, I know it sounds fucked, but I'm really appreciative of how much they showed of what happened in Ishval. It was hard to fucking watch, but I like that paired with like characters being like, what the fuck are we doing, and taking accountability for it, or being on the other side, like Kimberly is like it, it's tragic, but seeing not just like all the different shades of morality, it's there is so
I would say to people that are probably within them. I've never been within the military, but it feels realistic. So one line from that conversation specifically, where Riza, Hughes, and Roy are in a place where they're feeling they're feeling the actions that they've been committing. They're really feeling them, the circles under their eyes. They're sitting together and they're like, why are we even here?
Yeah.
And Kimberly is across from them. We have a line from Kimberly about, like, you put on that uniform without being ready.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of idea. And that definitely is an idea that's already been introduced to us of, like, the idea of grabbing onto something and not knowing the full truths about it. Like, it takes me back, like, 2-3 episodes ago, Envy to Ed being like, humans are taking on this power without fully understanding, you know, the risk of it. And then it also takes me to Ling realizing that Lan Fan had come here completely ready for this mission and he hadn't.
Yeah.
There's this, it's the idea of people maybe thinking they're ready, not truly thinking about it, and just kind of jumping in without thinking of the negatives that could happen. Maybe you're only thinking about the positives. Oh, well, when Roy's standing there in his nice new uniform as like a new soldier, he has bright hopes for the future. He's learning alchemy. He knows what he could do for the people with alchemy. It's all bright and shiny, and he's only really thinking about the positives here. And so we start this episode off with him being confronted by the kind of realism of, yeah, this is a great, good power, and it's really awesome, but like, it's that good of a power that it can also be used in awful ways. And then we get him seeing what those awful ways are and actually doing it with his own hands.
Mm-hmm. I specifically hate Kimberly for like honing in on Ryza. Ryza, before they even interacted, was already telling us in her head about snipers, when we pulled the trigger, someone was sure to die, and her feelings about that. But then for Kimberly to hone in and be like, isn't a tiny part of you after you hit your mark like, yes, I did it, you know?
It's because it's your own skill. Like, obviously, when she has that line, when we pull the trigger, someone was sure to die. Not if you're an awful sniper.
Yeah.
Not if you're bad. Like, I feel like if you're a bad sniper, you're not sure that someone is gonna die. Like, obviously, which I think is, it's not fun, but like this line is fun to play with in terms of that conversation of bringing up Kimberly, kind of inserting into her mind, like, are you sure you don't feel any sort of like impression, like you're impressed by your own skill or accomplishment, that you note that you are talented at this, and you maybe revel in it even for a split second after you hit your mark, which is just a really messed up thing to say here. It makes me wonder how many of these little conversations have been happening across the board of any different soldiers that are here, not just this group, but
I mean, we see like Armstrong even like cowering in like the tragedy of what he's taking part of. We said it, or you said it in the beginning of the episode, but I was thinking the same thing. All of like the early Roy Ryza comparisons or not even comparisons, but with Winry and Ed at the start of the episode, I was like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Which is like, it makes it more fun if you think about the line where Ryza's like, you love her, don't you? And then it's like, you know, how many of these little parallels, like, I feel like there's a possible romantic thing that could be, maybe not, like, they don't realize it, maybe they're not gonna do anything about it between Roy and Ryza.
Oh God,
yeah, so definitely I think so.
Are you kidding me? That's like that's the biggest one.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, in terms of the viewer perspective,
I feel that more than Ed and Winry even.
But in terms of the viewer perspective, we're further along on the Winry and Ed kind of side of things, because Winry's already kind of acknowledging her own feelings.
See,
to the point
you
where
could
we
be
can
right,
hear it.
but also if like casually the last episode of the series you just mentioned that at some point during the series Roy and Ryza went to a courthouse and got married, like I wouldn't be surprised, you know?
Honestly,
and it was just like, yeah, why wouldn't we? Like, we've known each other forever and she'll always have my back, and if I step out of line or off the path, she'll shoot me like she should.
Yep.
And I love that. Dude, that is such a great, like, we've already talked about it, but segue in the episode to them taking accountability for their own actions, like as going to be war criminals if this all works out in their favor. Like the idea of, if I'm not willing to do this, you have the responsibility to punish me for it. So good.
Yep.
Ugh, I fucking hate Bradley so much.
There was one line, yes, I hate him too, but there was one line in particular that he spoke to, I believe it was like the high priest.
So, okay, I think I know what you're going to talk about. first of all, fuck the lead into it, because the high priest is like, please take my life, save the tens of thousands of people, and Bradley's like, you think your life is equal to 10,000
I was like, he's spitting
people?
facts right now.
But also, it's so interesting how Bradley was like, yeah, one life is one life. You can't argue that shit. But then we have like lives like Roy or Ed or Al that could be sacrifices.
That are precious sacrifices.
So
you know, they do hold a higher weight than maybe like this life over here. It is kind of like hypocritical if you think about it. Like, to him, there are lives, or at least to Father, there are human lives that kind of matter more on a scale.
Do you think that like Father hadn't told that to Bradley at this point? Like had like made the rule or identified that there were like a certain subset of people who are more important?
It's possible that the idea of who would be good sacrifices hadn't been necessarily developed yet.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of Roy was in his very like
one plan at a time type thing.
Yeah, Roy was in his youth here, you know, not fully developed into probably what he is now, which is someone who would be a worthy sacrifice or resource material. Dr. Marco was just kind of getting started with his research and seeing what he obviously needed to see to possibly be utilized.
Dr. Marco's fucking dead. Vengeance.
Yeah. Off-screen death that obviously we saw coming, and we know that Scar fulfilled what he said that he was gonna do, which is, you fill me in, I will bring you to, I'll kill you.
That was fucking crazy.
And the idea that Scar, like in a horror movie or some shit, like wrote with blood on the wall for Envy to see is powerful and comical at the same time.
It reminds me of Death Note, kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just the writing on the
Let's
wall.
not give any characters in this show.
Oh, dude. Speaking of a character having that much power, Kimberly having the Philosopher's Stone was absurd.
Okay.
I hate it.
I want to talk about that a little bit. Kimberly, we know he's in prison.
Yeah.
I feel like, so when we get the shot of him with the Philosopher's Stone, I don't know if I'm just like reading into things in a weird way, and I could totally come back to this like 10 minutes after we end the discussion and feel like, I don't agree with what I'm saying right now. We don't see him swallow it. We just see him put it between his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
We see him locked up in a jail cell. Like, that is his current situation is. And we have the idea that Kimberly had it, which is like, Kimberly had it. We don't know where it went. We don't know what was done with it. I don't know. I feel like someone with a Philosopher's Stone, it's hard for me to believe that you could be just locked up in like an average.
I don't think he has it any longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I don't feel like he ingested it and took on a power from it.
We did not see him have any type of struggle with ingesting it, so I don't think he did. I think he just used it by having it physically in his possession. He probably
used it up, right?
Maybe he used it up, or maybe he wouldn't give it back, and that's why he's in a jail. Why would Bradley not be okay with this, you know? Interesting,
yeah. What has Kimberly done that would have him be locked up when all we've seen him do is exactly what they were ordered to do?
Yeah, like if we're having lines of dialogue that would suggest that Roy Mustang could be considered a war hero for all the fucked up shit he did, then statues would be created of him. I'm obviously joking, but like
in that argument, yes. Like, yeah. So yeah, okay.
Interesting. Huh.
There's still some unknowns there. Kimberly's an interesting character.
I loved Roy talking to Hughes like, haven't you seen movies? If you confess your love and
if you keep talking about
put it out into the world, you're gonna die.
Which is like a line delivery that hurts so much.
If Roy ever starts talking about Ryza in a romantic way, I am not going to watch any more of the show, because what's going to happen next is he's going to die.
Yeah, he's foreshadowing his own death there. Okay, damn. Yeah, they can never get to... I'm a fan of romance, and here I am saying, never get together. I don't want either of you to die. I think my last thing that... I feel like I want to go back to a comment that I made either during the opening or right when it ended. Not in terms of like wanting to see it again, but it reminds me of the conversation between Roy and Hughes, the kind of panning out the idea of the power of humans, as even though we're all small and insignificant, like the as we pan out, we see more and more, like he'll have his back and he'll have his back and so on and so forth. That sort of conversation, I would like to replay those lines.
Okay.
Yeah, the power of one person does not amount to much. As such, I will do all I can, however little that may be, to protect those who are dear to me. Those below me will protect those below them. We tiny humans should be able to do that much at least. You can pause here. So this definitely, I feel like, leads to my thought about the kind of repetition of visuals within the opening, how we have Roy. Like, you could just surface level be like, well, Roy's like the flame alchemist. Of course, there's fire in the visual, but it seems like he's sitting in front of a fire, like a bonfire, like a campfire. And then later on in the OP, we get what we've seen before with Hohenheim is him in front of a bonfire. And all I can think about is what was going through Hohenheim in terms of his thought process about humans and the belief it almost seemed like he wanted to put into humans at that time period. His conversations with Pinako, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like they're doing something here with these two characters, and I feel like they might get along.
It's what I said in the intro.
Yeah, I know.
I
feel like this is just confirmation. Like, this, obviously we know Roy where he stands, and this conversation isn't a total surprise to us. We've seen probably bits and pieces of it.
I don't think Roy knows enough about, like, I know, he did show up there. I don't know. Would Roy get defensive of Ed and Al, like, towards Hohenheim, or like it's not like that because it's not like close enough, you know what I mean?
That's a good question.
Like, Ed and Al's goal is to get their bodies back, not to find their dad. If that, like, that's a different anime.
I mean, Ed's already, that's a different anime. Ed's already had a conversation with his dad, father in front of, like, the grave or something was like the title. So yeah, I don't know how much they'd actually get along on, like, a friendship level, but in terms of, like, how they might be feeling about humans or how they want to believe in humans, they were in a similar place.
My last thing is, two things could have happened this episode. Lanfan could have been killed off screen because we only saw Mei Chang. So Mei Chang could have just killed her.
Marco was killed off screen?
Yeah, just like that. Or they have gotten along a little better.
I feel like once the doctor kind of, you know, put the fear in them in terms of, like, why are patients in every country are like this, once he kind of, you know, gave them a talking to, I'm sure they're trying to maybe stay out of each other's ways, maybe.
Yeah.
Just to, maybe even for their own protection, like, I have my eye on you, but I'm gonna, like, sit on the couch on this side of the couch.
Or
and you sit over there.
We
or
go back into the
friends.
room and
sisters.
Lanfan's head is blown off and it says vengeance and Mei Chang just fucking did it. I know. It wouldn't make sense.
So yeah, okay. Through the ending, obviously Scar is still gonna be a target for Bradley. I mean, more so now because he killed Dr. Marco, which they're trying to keep alive.
God, this is an incredible episode.
Yeah, I don't really know where we're gonna go in terms of the next episode. I feel like if you wanted to leave Central, if you wanted to leave what's currently happening, because we kind of are at a point where people are gonna be kind of separating, like Ryza's about to start working for Bradley, you know, Roy is gonna be doing something on his end, Ed and Al are gonna be getting
meeting back up. Have some more duo adventures.
Have kind of had a repetition of, like, idea of, like, okay, go back on your mission, really full force of getting your bodies back. Everyone's kind of dispersing again, and so I'm like, okay, well, Lanfan was like, hey, Al, get me a auto mail mechanic ASAP. So that could be a fun place to go as well.
True.
Actually get to see Winry. Maybe we wouldn't get to go with.
Or meet the snow people from the intro.
Or see the lady from the opening. Yes, I feel like there's anything could happen in the next episode or so in terms of where we're going to go and who we're going to be hanging out with.
Cool. You good?
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We hope to see you next time.